Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrandt. Joining me over there, a fine gentleman. You know him as Dan Rubenstein. Don't forget, you can find us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the usual hot spots, not the least of which is iTunes.com/solidverbal. We're on Google Play. We're on Spotify. And Dan, at long last, we are in week 1. The 2017 season is here. How are you?
I'm good. I got the juice running through me, Ty. And I know that sounds weird, and I'm sticking with that phrasing because I was up late. I was up early, studying, doing stuff for the day job.
Pause.
Okay.
How late were you really up?
I was up past midnight.
Whoa.
That's late for me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't even make it that long.
Alarm buzzed at 6 a.m. Got to get some studying in. Watch some clips I hadn't seen. Read up. Ty, I'm ready.
What was the rationale for staying up past midnight? Was it Oregon?
Some of it was Oregon. I was sort of reviewing everything as I was sort of half watching Oregon, watching the end of Florida State, Alabama, and just scanning the country, Ty.
Yeah.
What do you know about Kalen Newton? Come on, Ty.
What do you know about Howard? What does anybody know about Howard? 45-point dogs. Yeah.
My credit is to you, Ty, because you specifically outlined the path to a Howard upset over UNLV. You saw that, and not a lot of people did, so good on you.
Well, I got to be honest with you here. Between Ty Isaac, Ty Johnson, and my betting selections, not just in week 1, but all throughout the preseason, this is going to be a September to remember for all things related to Ty.
Oh, yeah. This is September.
Yeah.
I apologize in advance for any sort of visceral reaction to you, the listener, that you had listening to that word.
But yeah, great week 1. We're going to get into it. We're going to play your reverbs here momentarily. We had a new Taylor Swift song drop during the Florida State Bama game, which we could talk about.
There's a new song?
Oh, it's out. They were playing it. Yeah.
What's the name of it?
I'll have to get back to you, but it's out.
But it's not the look what you made me do and record this awful song.
If possible, it's even better.
And do you think that they are reacting positively to that track all around the globe?
Let's get to your week 1 reverbs, and then we'll discuss what transpired.
Football's back, baby! Woo! I'm more excited than a little kid on Christmas morning.
Dan, Ty, this is Dominic from Everett, Washington.
Hey, this is Sarah from Waco.
Hey, Dan and Ty, this is Murray in St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, Ty and Dan, this is Drew from Syracuse, New York, home of Ty's third favorite college football team.
Roll Tide, guys. I just had dental work, 2 fillings filled, and I decided I'd call in because my mouth is numb and I can finally sound like a true Alabama fan like I am.
Yeah, am I just drunk, or did Alabama just throw for 9 yards and Crockpotted the number 3 team in the country? Roll Tide.
I just want you to know that my wife keeps looking at me weird because I've spent all weekend going, big question, no doubt about it, so thanks for that.
Terps beat Texas. First win over a ranked opponent since I started going to school at Maryland after opening the drive with a pick 6. Holy crap, go Terps.
The reason I'm calling is that amazing Maryland-Texas game. And all credit to, now I'm an Ohio State fan, but I'm a Big Ten fan first and foremost. All credit to the Terrapins because what a game they played.
DJ Durkin. And can we get it started with a Mr. Softy soundbite for the Texas defense because they are soft.
Little piggy, let the Texas defenders come in. Oops, got more than we bargained for.
Texas is back. We just didn't realize that it was 2010 Texas.
I didn't think there'd be anything worse this season than the nicknames Ty comes up with, but Welcome to the party, Texas football.
More so, I'm just happy to be back with college football. I got chili on the stove. I got the beers flowing. I got the TV going. I got friends over. Let's ride, baby. Getting ready to watch my Gators play. Oh, sorry, I just got suspended.
Auburn 41, Georgia Southern 7. Stidham looked really good. Confidence in the pocket, something Auburn hasn't seen probably since Nick Marshall. Good to see him step up through a strike late.
It's just been kind of weird because all of us thought that Jacob Eason was going to be Matthew Stafford, but it turns out that maybe he was Jeff Driscoll the entire time. Real sad. Anyway, yeah, glad that we won. Go Dogs.
Tell you what, Ty, how you like that? How you like those Gamecocks? You should have paid attention to Alter Dan. Alter Dan is awesome.
Notre Dame fan here. Dan knocked it off with the old pop grandpa crap about Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is no longer 4-8.
Dem Irish are back, baby.
UConn is losing to Holy Cross? Man, they didn't do any research on that coach they just hired. It's like they didn't even know him.
Man, there's really nothing like starting off the first Saturday of the college football season with some oatmeal.
I would like to contact the FBI and report a crime because Pac-12 refs robbed Colorado State that game on Friday night.
Ty. We have to talk about liberty.
In this time of need for our country, the real way to unite us all is to replace all Civil War statues with statues of DJ Durkin jumping up and down, holding a sign that says, "Danger, excessive juice."
Danger, excessive juice. Hello, Dan.
There was so much in there to unpack.
There is a lot to unpack. There is always a lot to unpack in week one.
Well, can we promise each other something at the top right now?
Sure.
Can we just not talk about the Liberty Baylor game? Let's just agree to go nowhere near it.
Baylor fans would appreciate that. We've got a lot of them that listen to the program. Thank you again to everyone who called in 408 Verbal 1. Thank you to our producer, Taylor, the great Taylor, for putting that together in short order here in time for our recording early on Sunday morning. So there will be some games that we'll get to when we put our next show out on Wednesday. But for the time being, we're going to talk about what transpired on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And what were your general impressions of what you saw out there?
Some scares. And it was very much week one for just about everybody. And there were certain powers like your alma mater, like the defending national champs, like Wisconsin, like my alma mater, that took care of business pretty efficiently. But for the most part, there were, there's like senior moments or blonde moments, stuff like that. There's just week one moments.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I'm willing to say it's week one. Let's judge them on September as a whole. Everybody's sort of arrhythmic and a little stale, maybe not fully stretched out, maybe a little too hyped going into the game. But beyond that, there wasn't anything to me like Texas really wasn't an enormous upset. Texas probably shouldn't have been ranked, but it was a fun day. That's all it was, Ty. It was a fun day for football to be back.
Yeah, for me, week one was defined more by teams falling short of expectations than any of those surpassing them. The Maryland win was a good win, and it may not be a big upset in the sense that Texas probably shouldn't have been ranked, but it's a pretty big upset in that it's the first team that Maryland's beaten that was ranked in 7 years. That's meaningful to Maryland football. That's meaningful to the Big
100%.
Ten, which had a pretty big day. But yeah, I mean, a lot of teams out there, Ohio State, USC, they were sleepwalking for about 55 minutes. Saw a lot of that in week one. That to me will be more of the defining quality for what we saw in the first weekend than anything else out there. Obviously, a bunch of teams were impressive. We'll get into all that here. But to your point, yeah, I'm eagerly awaiting what kind of improvements we see in week two. Let's start at the very top, though, with the game that was billed as sort of the week one national championship between Alabama and Florida State. 24-7 was your final in favor of the Crimson Tide. Was this a crockpotting?
I think so, yeah.
Explain to people what a crockpotting is, because we've had questions come through on the subreddit, email, voicemail, Twitter. What exactly constitutes a crockpotting, Dan?
So if you're familiar with the concept of a crock pot itself, it's a slow cooker. Nothing really gets done quickly, but slowly the meat, the flesh, or the vegetables, whatever, they slowly get cooked and they get tenderized over long periods of time. It's not a flash fry. It's not a hot sear. Those are your first quarter 28-3 jump out of the gate type game.
Exactly.
A crock potting is a team just gradually sits on another and cooks them and tears apart their tendons.
This to me, though, did not feel like a crock potting.
That was not a DeAndre Francois reference. But
No.
I am not. I do not speak in that poor of taste.
This was not a traditional Alabama crock potting. To me, it felt more like a sous vide cooker for 18 hours, and then you throw it on a sear burner just to finish it off, because it kind of came apart in the fourth quarter very quickly for Florida State. We had Minkah Fitzpatrick, he blocks a field goal at the end of the first half for Alabama. Then Damian Harris blocks a punt. Damian Harris, the running back, mind
Ridiculous.
you, blocks a punt in the third quarter. And then the wheels came off. Then we've got the Keith Gavin fumble deep in Florida State territory that leads to points. Then we've got DeAndre Francois clearly trying to do a little too much. He throws a pick, then another, then, oh, by the way, rolls his knee, potentially out for a significant amount of time. That's the worst case scenario, the worst possible way for Florida State to end this football game. Otherwise, though, I thought the Florida State defense actually played pretty well. They did their part. It was just that the offense couldn't get anything going. And even on Alabama's side of things, there's no denying the fact that they've got a very talented group of skill position talent, at a minimum in the backfield. I wasn't wowed so much by their offense. I was wowed by their ability to convert, to take turnovers, to take mistakes made by Florida State, and to use those, play off those to get the points, enough points to win by 17. That's what really impressed me in this game.
Yeah, I don't think Jalen Hurts completed a pass to a non-Calvin Ridley receiver or tight end, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think he did. So Jalen Hurts was fine, and he is going to play pretty much every team on his schedule is going to have a worse defense than this Florida State defense. I thought they were lights out. I thought they were incredible. Outside of a couple, I think it was just a couple of Damian Harris runs, they really did a great job putting up just an enormous wall at the line of scrimmage. Good for Florida State. The difference, as you mentioned, was special teams. I'm not terribly concerned about Florida State moving forward beyond what DeAndre Francois' health looks like, because that could be an enormous blow to an otherwise very promising season. And I expect Alabama to get better and more complete offensively as they play worse defenses. And it wasn't a terrific showing at all. You're right, for Jalen Hurts, but it was fine. They did everything they needed to do. And somebody tweeted us, by the way, Ty, with the star rankings of guys that were making special teams play in Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris, Najee Harris, and Dylan Moses. And we're talking about all top 20, 30 players in the country, not at their position, just overall making ridiculous plays. So it's every phase at every moment for Alabama, and Alabama did nothing in my eyes to make them seem any less of a number one team.
I'm going to put a call out to our boy Marcelo in Texas, or any other audio hobbyists out there. We are going to need a crock potting sound for this coming football season. We're going to see a lot of games like this. So if you want to send them in, solidverbal@gmail.com, we'll pick out some of our favorites and maybe we'll rotate.
Was this game entertaining to you? It's a weirdly positioned game because it's in what will now be the national championship venue, right?
Yeah.
And it's barely September, and you have this strange, huge game feel when we actually don't know what to expect from either of these teams, the 2017 iterations. So it feels very off, and the lighting was off in the stadium. Everything just felt, like it was Earth 2.
I found myself studying up on other games and taking notes on other games. I never once felt the need to devote all of my attention to watching the football game, because I kind of felt after halftime like I knew which direction it was going to go.
Well, with these big games, you think about having a big game feel, and you think about them having, these two teams, and it's the culmination of all these experiences that we've seen over the course of the year. And we haven't had any experiences.
Yeah.
We don't know what a newly healthy Derwin James is like in 2017. We don't know how Alabama uses Najee Harris or how Calvin Ridley steps up as like the primary guy. We don't know. So there's this weird non-culmination big game. I don't know. Not for me.
24-7 Alabama wins. Let's stay in the SEC.
Yep.
Michigan knocks off Florida by a 33-17 score. Jim McElwain, I thought, put it best in his post-game comments. He said, quote, "We got whooped." Whooped? Yeah. I haven't heard whooped in forever, but I think that's
not wrong.
It's about as accurate as you're going to find. Let's start with Michigan here, because I thought it was an impressive win despite the full rebuild of their defense and despite the fact that Florida was without Jordan Scarlett and Antonio Callaway. Still really impressive, especially in the second half where they shut out Florida. Florida's only touchdowns came off 2 pick sixes on high throws from Wilton Speight. Their offense had under 200 yards total, just 11 yards rushing on the ground. They fumbled 5 times. They lost 3. The question that I think I'm going to have now moving forward about Michigan is whether it's a thing where, wow, their defense is really good again, or, oh, Florida's offense is really just that bad again. I don't know. It might take until October when Michigan plays Penn State for us to get a definitive answer on that. Mm-hmm. But I thought, at least in week 1, Michigan looked pretty damn impressive.
Would Florida be better off just having a jugs machine in the backfield than just have like an assistant back there? He's like, listen, it's going straight up down the middle of the field. Whatever happens, happens. You get a tight spiral. You wouldn't get any fumbles.
God.
Let's start here. The suspended players didn't make a huge difference because neither of them, or none of those specific to play offense, play in the offensive line, play quarterback, play in the secondary, which had a couple of lapses, promising talent in Florida's secondary. But no, the thing that you walked away from that game being most confident in is Michigan's defense. And it didn't matter who was playing quarterback. It didn't matter who was on the offensive line. Michigan's defense was stifling and overwhelming. And also Michigan's kicker is it's Quinn Nordin.
Yeah.
Just drilling from distance.
He was the guy who Jim Harbaugh went over to his house and slept over, right?
Yes,
to recruit
that's correct.
Him. And, everyone made fun of Harbaugh, and he's easy to make fun of and all that. But I can't emphasize enough. He hit 2 50-plus yarders in this game. He had 4 field goals in total. He hit a 55-yarder, Dan. In the NFL, that's a bomb. In college, that's an ICBM. You don't see 55-yard field goals being kicked that often in the college game.
What do you think about Michigan's offense? Because I was impressed with the backfield. I think Chris Evans and Ty Isaac will make for a really good duo in the backfield. Wilton Speight, you have a
very okay.
He is
okay.
He is supremely average to me. And he makes some plays. He had the nice deep bomb early on in the game on the Florida miscommunication, but the pick sixes weren't fully his fault. You'd think it's not terribly different than the Florida situation that there's so much surrounding talent, but they can't figure out quarterback. Jake Rudock was good a couple years ago, but is Wilton Speight a playoff quarterback?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But I did like the backfield. I liked Ty Isaac. I liked Captain America, Chris Evans. 22 carries, 78 yards.
God, Florida couldn't even run the ball.
This game was not a quarterbacking clinic. Suffice to say that neither Felipe Franks nor Malik Zaire had the kind of immediate impact that Florida fans were hoping for. We need to see what they can do with a full complement of skill guys. But man, it does not seem like they have solved that problem yet.
Malik Zaire, the ultimate curse of Ty. You were so excited coming out of high school.
The Zaire. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's go around the other games in the SEC quickly. Those were sort of the 2 premier matchups.
Don't you disrespect South Carolina like that.
South Carolina, a nice win, 35-28. This might have been the best game of the day.
It was pretty high level for the most part. I think there was only one pick between the 2 quarterbacks. Jake Bentley acquitted himself nicely. Ryan Finley threw the ball what felt like 93 times, which is never a terrific sign. But yeah, this was a fun game, Ty.
South Carolina scored 14 points off turnovers. That really proved to be the difference. Again, 35-28. Can I give a dude alert here? Am I allowed to do that?
Please.
Let's go dude alert Debo Samuel, 3 touchdowns, 2 receiving, ran back the opening kickoff, Dan.
Yeah, he did.
Had himself a day and a really big win for Will Muschamp and South Carolina. Good win for them.
Can I ask you a serious XM question?
Sure.
Gotta ask you, Ty, are you a little bit worried about NC State coming off of a summer of so much hype? It's a big question. They haven't played an ACC game, but no doubt about it. It's a question.
I'm not that concerned about NC State, no.
I think they'll be all right.
I think they'll be fine. Auburn won 41-7 over Georgia Southern. They outgained Georgia Southern 535-78. Cam Petway, Kyle Davis, Sean White were all out of this game. Kerryon Johnson tweaked a hammy, but Cam Martin came in and he was all right. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think Auburn has a stable of Cams.
Yeah.
They just one after the other. Auburn, I mean, there's not a ton to draw from this game, but Auburn will be led by its defense. And however Jarrett Stidham is able to develop, but I thought did they give up a point after the first quarter? I don't feel like they did.
Nope.
So Georgia Southern, 0 for 15 on third down.
Yeah, not good.
Auburn's fine.
Not good. Auburn's going to be just fine. LSU blanked BYU 27-0. A dominating effort for LSU. They outgained BYU by nearly 400 yards. Danny Etling looked more accurate in this game, which I thought was a nice plus.
57 rushes to 18 pass attempts for LSU. This was their, what's the Miracle on Ice coach's name?
Herb Brooks?
Herb Brooks. And Kurt Russell in the movie Miracle. Again! Run it! Again! Run it! Again! And it was working. So they did it and they shut out BYU.
Georgia wins 31-10 over your darling App State, Dan. I guess the real big news in this game is that Jacob Eason left in the first quarter with a sprained knee. But as it were in Athens, they grow jakes on trees down there. So they enter Jacob Fromm, the 4-star freshman who looked pretty good, 10 of 15 in relief. He actually pushed Eason for the job all spring. They eventually gave it to Eason. But now this is going to be something to watch moving forward because Georgia has to travel to Notre Dame next week for a big night game. And, we'll see how that all shakes out. But otherwise, good game for Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. I expected a nice blowout win here like we saw. You were a little bit more skeptical, but Georgia 1-0.
Yeah, Georgia's defense is stifling. I'm still pretty concerned about Georgia's offensive line. I think they go as far as the offensive line will take them, which is also to say they can win the East with below average offensive line play. And tip of the cap to Bryce Ramsey, 0 for 2 with 2 interceptions. You want to talk about efficiency? That starts with Bryce Ramsey.
We must move quickly through the other games in the SEC. Kentucky wins over Southern Miss. Mississippi State blanks Charleston Southern. Ole Miss 47, South Alabama 27, Vandy 28, Middle Tennessee 6.
That's a kind of an okay deal, by the way, Ty.
Yeah, not bad.
Mitsu's not bad. Middle Tennessee has been pretty good recently, and Vandy and Kyle Shermer had a nice day. So let's not skip over it.
Arkansas 49-7 over Florida A&M. And if you didn't watch the Missouri State game, there were over 1,200 yards. Drew Lock, 521, 7 touchdowns in the game. Not much of a defensive showing, but a lot of points if you're into such things.
Yeah, I think Missouri clamped up in the second half, though. I think they just allowed, it was a touchdown in garbage time or something late. So
all right,
it was fine.
Let's go to Texas.
Ooh. I'm actually going to Texas on Friday. I'm literally going to Texas, but let's talk.
Let's go to Maryland 51, Texas 41. Dan, I am eagerly awaiting the Chip Kelly to Texas rumors. Is it too soon?
Ladies and gentlemen, Chip Kelly, and I'm hearing this secondhand from sources. I'm told he has interest. People from his camp have reached out to the people at the 40 acres. Interesting story to pay attention to. We'll keep you posted.
So this was one of your locks, almost one of mine. Tom Herman coming in. He does the renovations, right, to the facilities. People are expecting he's going to sprinkle some of his pixie dust on Texas football. And, they kind of looked the same as a year ago in week 1.
Could have saved some cash.
They kind of looked the same as a year ago, right?
They did. The same sort of slop in the being more talented on defense and really being bad in the open field. And obviously we talked about Puna Ford. I like the dealership. I like the guys built like dorm fridges. But for them to get pushed around, Ty Johnson, who meanwhile, yes, he had an enormous 2016. He averaged 8 or 9 yards per carry. And once he's always getting burst runs, and Texas had no answer. Texas was making mistakes. Texas was awful on special teams. So in every phase, Texas couldn't run the ball at all. They rushed Shane Buechele 15 times. He was their leading carrier. I don't know what they're going for. It was hard to come away from that game and say, listen, Texas lost, but I can see what they were going for. I see what they were trying to do. They were all over the place.
Yeah, the identity was a bit of an issue. I should mention here that Ty Johnson was my preseason dude alert. I won't play the sound again, at least not yet.
That's true.
Ty Johnson, 12 for 132.
That was a double tie backfield. Tyrell Pigram.
Quarterback. Tyrell Pigram. He's your starting quarterback. At least he was. He got hurt in the third quarter and turned things over to Kasim Hill, another guy that Maryland fans are pretty excited about. I would just like to also add here that it was yet another gambling triumph for us, in that in the preseason, we put the smart money on Caleb Henderson to be the Maryland starter.
Of course.
And Tyrell Pigram came in and actually gave Maryland a fun identity. It was kind of an ugly game. 21 penalties. Maryland wasn't great on third down, but all that matters is the scoreboard. And 51 points on the road at Texas. If you're a Maryland fan right now, you're over the moon. That was the best you've seen in like 7 years. So good on them. Good for DJ Durkin.
Yeah, they could start 4-0. They have Towson, UCF, and they go to Minnesota to end the month out. October's kind of rough. November is kind of rough. But if they can get back to a bowl game, then even if it's, again, going 6-6, whatever, that's a success for 2017 because this schedule is impossible. So it's good for Maryland. I hope they stay healthy because when healthy, you can see they can dominate better talent.
And we'll just have to wait and see on Texas. I'm probably going to have to rescind a lot of what I said about.
You're walking that back?
Yeah. I mean, what am I supposed to do at this point? You lose to Maryland by 10 at home in week 1. That's not the reassurance I'm looking for from Tom Herman. You know what? I think they'll still knock somebody off.
Well, USC didn't look good yesterday.
It might not be Oklahoma or USC, but perhaps we need to recalibrate.
Yeah, fair to say.
Ohio State 49, Indiana 21. Dan, this was a Thursday night game. Probably the smartest thing I said on our preview show was that Indiana was going to push Ohio State for a half.
I did say Ohio State was blowing the doors off them. I thought it was going to be close, and then Ohio State would eventually move away.
About 40 minutes. 40 minutes in, that's how long it took for Ohio State
Check the receipts. Yeah, you're right.
To get the Jets firing again, but they did pull away. Statistically, a very good game for J.T. Barrett and J.K. Dobbins, the freshman, the exciting freshman, and Paris Campbell, the receiver. But Barrett looked shaky for most of this game.
Had a couple bad drops, notably the Paris Campbell one on the deeper pass down the middle, just sort of down the seam. But he did. He looked tentative still, and I think it's okay to make peace with the fact that JT Barrett is just pretty good. He's just fine. And I know a lot of people want him to be more, and I hope he is more. I hope this becomes a more fun, wide open offense this year. The good news is this. J.K. Dobbins lines up next to him and probably should keep that starting role even when Mike Weber gets healthier because he was electric, Ty. He was a dude. I don't know if we need a full alert. He's only played one game.
He's only played one game. We need at least one more.
We'll save him.
We'll save the dude alert on Dobbins.
The big thing is the secondary for Ohio State, once again, having to replace a lot of guys that have gone to the NFL. They got picked on a little bit, taller receivers. You know who has tall receivers, Ty? The Penn State University.
That very tall, yeah.
The Pennsylvania State University has those guys and a tall tight end who can make acrobatic catches. So will be interesting to see moving forward what Ohio State looks like defensively against that. But the great news is they have like 19 NFL type talents along the defensive line rotating in and out. So not terribly worried about Ohio State. And conversely, was quite impressed with Indiana. They seem to be marching forward, improving. The defense looked good for a good chunk of this game anyway. They were just on the field too much. I thought the offensive game plan was really sound.
Are you a Lego maniac?
Against smaller guys? Yeah, absolutely I am.
410 passing for Richard Lego?
Yeah, Simi Cobbs was great. Sure.
All right. You mentioned Penn State. They won 52-0 over Akron.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, the real takeaway here is that Saquon Barkley remains unbelievable. 14 carries, 172, 2 touchdowns, had 54 more as a receiver. Just incredible. If he stays healthy, he is going to take them to new heights.
Absolutely.
I'm going to rifle through some other results here in the Big Ten. Let me know if there's anything that jumps out at you.
Very heavy weaponry analogy for you today.
Thank you.
You had what was that? You had bombs, you had ICBM. What was
ICBM?
Yeah. Also, Ty, this is just a very quick tangent. Somebody got my credit card number 2 days ago, and all of the't were for like a Glock website, body armor, like everybody, They were just going for it. Yeah. So wasn't me.
That's good.
Here we are. Yeah.
Wisconsin 59, Utah State 10. This game was 10-10 at half. Nebraska 43, Arkansas State 36.
Can I bring an alert to you? Not a dude alert, but can I just bring something to your attention about that Wisconsin game? As you know, Wisconsin cycles in really good running backs every year. That's just sort of their thing. They develop. They have a good offensive line. Do you know who led Wisconsin in rushing in this game and looked very impressive?
Who would that be?
That'd be a running back by the name of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm calling him Jonathan Taylor tailback, so I can call him JTT. Is that okay by you?
I will absolutely.
Okay, just making sure. Jonathan Taylor tailback.
Yeah.
Very nice debut for the badge. Can we get credit for Dan for locking up Iowa?
No.
Something?
No.
Unbelievable.
Do you want credit for locking up Texas too?
Ty, I didn't ask that.
Okay. Michigan State 35, Bowling Green 10, Northwestern 31, Nevada 20. Illinois and Minnesota both win. Rutgers loses to Washington. We can talk about that game when we get to the Pac-12, but Rutgers actually looked a lot better than in past.
Definitely.
Dan, I want to go to the ACC, but before we do, I want to tell you about ZipRecruiter.
Oh, please.
Are you hiring?
We're always hiring. We're expanding. We're always looking for terrific candidates, Ty. Do you have a solution for me and us?
Finding talent can be tough.
Yeah.
Can be tough. Thankfully, ZipRecruiter.
Just ask the previous Oregon defensive staff.
Just go to ZipRecruiter. All right. Just cut to the chase. They'll post your job to 100 plus sites with one click. Then their powerful technology, it takes over. It's going to be efficient. It's going to be like Kung Fu matching you with the right people for your job. Better than anyone else. It's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike the other sites, they don't depend on the candidates finding you. It finds them. It's crazy like that. 80%, over 80% of employers who post to ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. I know you're listening Texas football.
Ooh.
Don't got to worry about juggling emails, no calls. Yeah, it's a real deal. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all shapes and sizes to find the most qualified job candidates. Immediate results could be waiting for you. And right now, if you're a verbal listener, just go on out to ZipRecruiter to try it for free. That is right, free. ZipRecruiter.com/solid. At ZipRecruiter.com/solid. One more time, try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/solid. Dan.
Yes.
All right, let's go to the ACC here, though, because there was a little bit of overlap in the college football Venn diagram between Big Ten and ACC. There was this Louisville Purdue game, Dan.
Not a great start for the ACC.
What
in
the
general.
hell was this game?
Well, I think we all remember. What was the name of the game? The something classic in Lucas Oil. Louisville's got some issues.
Oh my!
One of them is not Lamar Jackson. Another one of them is not Stacey Thomas, I believe, the edge rusher, outside linebacker. They got big performances from both of them, but Louisville's got holes.
Oh my
Louisville's got
God.
gaps.
Louisville 35,
Whoa.
Purdue 28. Lamar Jackson 485 total yards, far and away the best player in the field, no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
But yeah, they've got something to work on before they get to Clemson in 2 weeks, because otherwise that's going to be a bit of a massacre. Purdue, to their credit, look, they didn't win the game. They probably never were gonna, but they fought. They fought pretty damn hard in this game. They took advantage of some Louisville miscues, And they kept it close. So I think even in defeat, a victory for Purdue in Jeff Brom's first game.
Yeah, absolutely. They showed out really nicely. Hopefully they stay healthy. Hopefully they keep improving and they become a sort of wild card team in a conference that pretty desperately needs them.
Clemson 56, Kent State 3. How awesome did Kelly Bryant look?
He looked very good, and the important thing was Kent State is not good, Clemson is great, and it showed. And Kelly Bryant looked confident. He ran the ball really well. He was, for the most part, very accurate. He was efficient. Hunter Johnson got in and got some time. It was a rousing success, as any game can be against Kent State. 15
different receivers caught passes for Clemson in this game, which is incredible to me. Yep. Miami 41, Bethune-Cookman 13. Malik Rozier played pretty well in his debut. 3 touchdowns. Mark Walton, Travis Homer, good games on the ground. That's good to see. Again, just Bethune-Cookman, but Miami needs to get better running the football. They can get Walton and Homer going. That would be nice for them. That would help them out big ways. Cal 35, UNC 30, Dan.
Hell yeah.
This one caught me off guard.
Didn't see this coming.
Ross Bowers, 363, 4 touchdowns, goes on the road, gives Justin Wilcox a win. Can I hear it for Bauer Power? Is that a thing? Can we make that a thing?
The Bauer Hour?
The Bauer Hour?
Sure. Why not? I don't think it's going to be a thing over the course of Cal's season, but let's celebrate it in week 1. Let's celebrate that they've got both a receiver and a running back named Vic. I like that. And the fact that Cal looked relatively efficient, if Bowers is going to keep succeeding, needs to cut down on a couple of the dumb picks. But otherwise, Cal going across the country, and North Carolina lost a ton. Did they start a quarterback named Chaz?
Yes, I believe they did.
Okay, just making sure. I don't want that to fly over us. I want to acknowledge such things, or else we wouldn't be doing.
We need to acknowledge all Chazes, yes.
Yeah, we must acknowledge Chazai. Anyway, really nice win for Cal. Their schedule's tough, but I think they have Ole Miss in a couple weeks, but unexpected, cool to see.
Elsewhere in the ACC, I'm going to lump this in with the ACC just because I can. Notre Dame, 49, Temple, 16. I watched the whole game. A good debut for Chip Long as offensive coordinator. What I liked about what he did is he made no secret of the fact that he wanted to run the football in the preseason, and he ran for 442 yards on the ground. No smoke and mirrors. He ran the football. He knew he could. He did. Notre Dame, very good in the red zone, 6 for 6. Mike Elko played 21 guys on defense in the first quarter, not all at once because that would be a penalty, but rotated a bunch of guys in. Our friend Pete Sampson counted it up. He liked what he saw in terms of the rotation on defense. I think that will be helpful. Defense was really good against the run. 49-16, nice win over Temple in week 1.
It absolutely was. And again, you said it best. Shout out to Chip Long for personally running for 422
That's right.
yards.
Thank you.
Also, oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Ty, hold on 1 second. No. The internet is working, Grandpa.
Okay.
But when it doesn't, that's when you unplug the router.
Pitt,
that's
28. Youngstown State, 21. This one went to overtime. Wake Forest, 51. Presbyterian, 7. Syracuse, 50. Central Connecticut, 7. Boston College, Duke, and Virginia all win as well in the ACC. Any of that stuff jump out to you?
Does Pitt have a Youngstown State problem? Give us a call, 888-999-1010 on the Dave Davis Dental Hotline. I know you're going to get after it, Pittsburghians.
Pittsburghians, okay.
Is that what it is? I don't even know what people from Pittsburgh call themselves. Is it just Yinzers?
I think it's probably just Yinzers, yeah.
Okay.
Let's go to the Pac-12, Dan.
Okay.
99 degrees in the Southern California heat.
Ooh.
USC 49, Western Michigan 31, Dan. What exactly was that defensive effort from USC?
My milkshake.
Some odd formations and Western taking advantage. Levante Bellamy averaged like 10 or 11 yards per carry, and Western looks well coached. They took advantage of USC mistakes. USC probably should have just run the dang ball more. And I know you have Sam Darnold and he's very enticing, but Western wasn't really stopping Ronald Jones all that much. So just roll with he and Stephen Carr. That makes sense to me. Mistakes from USC. They looked a little lethargic. Everything looked a little bit stale. And then they turned it on in like the last 5 minutes and scored like 3 or 4 touchdowns. So USC will be fine. I think they are a prime example of week 1. And we probably shouldn't forget the fact that Western was in the Cotton Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Right? So this isn't like crazy playing down to an opponent in the MAC, because PJ Fleck, when he was there, recruited very, very well, outpaced everybody else in the MAC. So they should have won more comfortably, but ultimately things prevailed.
Ronald Jones put USC on his back late in this game.
He's a good player.
That's a good game. Ty. It was good to see Deontay Burnett getting some action too, building a bit of a rapport with Sam Darnold, because, with Juju Smith-Schuster going to the NFL, it's like, okay, who's the new target going to be? Maybe he could be that guy. Who knows?
Right.
What I would add, though, is that USC plays Stanford next week. And
great matchup for Stanford.
If you can't stop the run against Western, you're going to have an issue when it comes to Stanford. I'm interested to see what that line is, Dan.
Okay, what would be your guess? We're recording this right now. It's Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
I could see it being a straight up pick 'em.
Straight pick?
Yeah.
I think USC will be favored by 4.5.
All right. We'll see. Lines haven't dropped yet. The other important note here, we can't glaze over this one. Jake Olson.
Oh my God, so cool.
So he was the subject of many a game day tearjerkers, and rightfully so. Go back, look up Jake Olson. Jake Olson was promised by Steve Sarkisian. He's a blind long snapper. He was promised by Steve Sarkisian that he would get him out there on the field, that he would be able to snap in the Coliseum. Now Clay Helton has kept him on the team, has honored that promise. He had a chance to go out there and snapped the final extra point in yesterday's contest against Western Michigan. Just a really cool college football story. And congrats to Jake. That's a cool thing.
Great job by the refs on the field. Everything was very cool about that moment.
Washington 30, Rutgers 14. We're not going to dive too deeply into this one. Washington had to travel cross country. Probably wasn't their greatest
Washington
outpouring of offense or defense or what have you. But the game was 10-7 at half, Dan.
It was
10-7 at half, and I think that in and of itself is probably a win for Rutgers, who was just uncompetitive a year ago. This year, I think they've taken strides now. If week 1 is any indication, they've taken strides on both offense and defense.
Yeah, I thought Rutgers' game plan was exceptional. They played keep away. They kept just sort of slowly marching down the field. And I was watching, I was like, what does this remind me of? And then I think was it a Fox game? And they're like, oh, Jerry Kill, the new Rutgers offensive coordinator, spent a lot of time with Bill Snyder in the offseason. I was like, ooh, that's where I've seen that.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen that. But no, I tweeted this out from our account that Rutgers did a really good job of identifying like when Washington backups were playing along the defensive line and went straight there. They just went straight at them. So it was a well-coached game from Rutgers, another team that they're probably still thin in terms of talent. The ones are probably decent, but 2s and 3s is where it gets shaky. So Rutgers looked totally okay and competitive and prepared, and I hope this is a sign of things to come. And also, Washington has a very young dude in Byron Murphy, and by dude, I mean dude. Real good.
Okay. Washington State 31-0 over Montana State. Luke Falk started this game like 20 for 20, something like that. I saw folks on Twitter were questioning whether or not he could challenge the NCAA record for most consecutive completions, which I believe is 26. He did not get that, but Wazoo looked really good against Montana State. Hey, they didn't struggle with an FCS opponent in week 1. That was cool.
Mike Leach's first opening week win?
Something
for
like
Wazoo,
that.
I believe. Yeah.
They've got Boise next week, which is obviously a much, much better game, but I thought Wazoo looked pretty good. Talk to me about Oregon. 77-21 over... Who is this? A directional Utah.
Southern Utah. Yeah. Directional Utah school. Not much to gain. The thing that I took away from this game was Oregon's offense and Oregon in general. They just sort of looked rejuvenated They looked like there was happiness and energy, a little bit of juice, which they were missing. So not a ton to take away from Southern Utah. They still have a ways to go in terms of tackling, but I think that's more of a talent thing than a coaching at this point. And that, obviously, if you've paid attention to recruiting rankings, will turn around. But Justin Herbert looked very, very good. Royce Freeman looked excellent, but, they're playing against Southern Utah.
All right, let's move to some other games in the Pac-12. Tell me if any of these jump out at you. Colorado 17-3 over Colorado State.
Jumps out to me because Colorado State has a really good offense, and Colorado lost so much on defense, including Jim Leavitt, and they completely held down the Rams.
Philip Lindsay, 140 yards. I like Philip Lindsay. He's going to get some doodle alerts this year for sure.
Sure.
Utah wins 37-16 over North Dakota. Big game for your boy, Darren Carrington. 10 catches, 127 yards.
Yeah. Utah probably should be able to put away North Dakota a little bit more impressively, but first-time starter Tyler Huntley comes in. Everybody figured Troy Williams would win this job, but Huntley won it. They ran it relatively well. Darren Carrington was fine. Not much to take away.
Arizona State, Arizona, and Oregon State all win as well.
Well, Oregon State barely won.
A win's a win, Dan.
State.
It still counts.
We didn't mention that Stanford won a week and a half ago, right? 2
Do
weeks
those
ago?
games even count?
Unclear, Ty.
Here is what is supremely confusing to me. Portland State's a very good example. Portland State played last week, and now they played again this week. But because it's so oddly misshapen in the form of a college football schedule, I find that no one knows how to label it. So it looks, if you look on the schedule, like Portland State has played 2 games in week 1.
Yeah.
Very
I
bizarre.
think that's just the easiest thing to do.
Very bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go to the Big 12. Let's not talk about the Baylor game. We can agree that that didn't happen.
Nope.
Let's not talk about Texas again, because once is enough for Texas fans. I'm sure Maryland fans would love to hear more, but we'll leave that as it is. The only real close games were Kansas winning by 22 over Southeast Missouri State and Iowa State beating Northern Iowa 42-24 by 18, 108 for my boy Duke of Hazzard, Alan Lazard. Otherwise, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, K-State, TCU, Texas Tech, all of those teams rolled pretty nicely over their opponents.
So Tulsa's not probably going to be great this year. They were fun last year, but that first quarter, that first half for the Cowboys was a stop, he's already dead type game.
Yeah.
And that Oklahoma State, when their offense is rolling, and that's Justice Hill on the ground, that's Mason Rudolph, who throws a very pretty deep ball, and now that Tyron Johnson and James Washington are threats on either side, Oklahoma State is as close to a scary offense as exists, I think, right now in the Big 12, because the jury's a little bit out on Oklahoma. But yeah, it'll be Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Here's the breaking news, Ty, if you have the sound.
I do have the sound. We have breaking news!
Boop, 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 boop. Texas Tech played defense. Texas Tech played. They brought 11 people out on that side of the ball against a sort of new look Eastern Washington team who lost Bo Baldwin, who's now the offensive coordinator at Cal, their head coach these past few years. But they shut out Eastern Washington in the second half. They were active. They tackled. I don't anticipate this being a thing throughout the year, but it's a start, Ty, and I think it should be acknowledged.
It's better than nothing, man.
Absolutely. And they got a really nice performance from it's Nick Shimonek. Shimon!
Yeah.
I don't know how you say his last name.
That was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
We also shouldn't pan over the fact that Baker Mayfield missed 1 pass. 19 of 20 for 329 and 3 touchdowns in a 56-7 victory over the UTEP Miners. Good game for him.
Did you like their pickaxe helmets?
I did. I was okay with that.
I like them.
Yeah, I was okay with that. So what this all sets up, Dan, is what I think is going to be a monster week 2. And of course, there are some other football games that are taking place on Sunday evening, on Monday night, that we will cover when we do our Wednesday show. But was there any other action that jumped out at you as being noteworthy in week 1?
Boise State's defense looked really good, and that matters because, one, Troy has been pretty good, and two, they have Washington State next week, so that sort of straddles both of the points that you made in that sentence. Outside of that, UCF was relatively impressive. You mentioned Wake. Minnesota, I sort of expected a little bit more offensively in PJ Fleck's first game, but, I suppose a win is a win in week 1, but you'd like to see more. UConn barely beat who, Ty? Who? The Crusaders.
I thought it was going to happen.
I was so amped for it to happen, Ty. As I look around, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that jumped out. You sort of glossed over my pick of the lock of the week in Iowa over Wyoming. It makes me feel a little bit better as an Oregon fan going to Laramie in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That certainly helped calm my nerves a little bit. Outside of that, Ty, I think let's go to the Pat League, Ty.
We can go to the Pat League.
Let's just review, because Fordham, it was they suffered.
No, Fordham did not.
United States Army.
The United States Army. The whole army showed up for that football game.
Yes, it was Friday night. Not pretty, but Lehigh kept it close against Villanova.
Nova's usually a pretty good football team.
There's just something about Lehigh and the fans and alumni that just rubbed me the wrong way.
I'm married to a Lehigh alum, Dan.
I know. Lafayette embarrassed themselves against
What is
Monmouth.
it about Oregon alums that really rubs people the wrong way? 408-VERBAL-1, give us a call.
Coming at you, no doubt about it. And the Bison beat Marist, and I've held this position for a long time. Screw Marist. Come on.
Okay.
The Foxes. Get out of here.
So, look, here's what we got in week 2. Penn State Pitt. Could be interesting, though not as interesting as it looked a few days ago. Nebraska at Oregon. We've got Clemson against Auburn. We've got Ohio State against Oklahoma. We've got Georgia against Notre Dame. We've got USC against Stanford.
Whew, it's a good week.
Not bad, right?
Absolutely.
What else we got this week?
That's a great question, Ty. I'd like to thank a few people for sharing the show, both on Twitter and Facebook, and for reviewing the show with 5 stars on iTunes. Always appreciated. That'd be Jonathan Thompson, Ty Tesher, Greg Finley, Josh Lipka, Holly to the G, Chris Stasiak, Stasiak. I'm going Stasiak. Simon Kirkman, sorry about your Texas Longhorns. The Hawk Realist, congratulations on Iowa. Kin Kinsley, great name, Ty.
Yeah, that's great.
Kin Kinsley, are you kidding me? Jeremy Wale, Chris Barnett, and Ty, as always.
Yeah.
We ride.
We ride.
We ride. With Brandon McKissick. I don't know if he shared the show, but that has to be mentioned. And if you can play the Dude Alert sound one more time.
Who we got?
Sticking with Iowa, Josie Jewell, we mentioned Ronald Jones, we mentioned Quinn Nordin, Anthony Rush from UAB, large man, Heisman moment.
Big dude, yeah.
Josh Adams, I'm going to throw that out there for you. Had a very nice day for Notre Dame.
Yep.
Ty Johnson, we mentioned. AJ Brown for Ole Miss, big new go-to receiver. They're not going to be great this year, but they could be fun. Kalen Newton, who we mentioned at the top of the show, and Debo, Ty. We like saying Debo, and we're going to say it again.
Debo Samuel. Yeah.
Debo Samuel.
All right. What do you got? Anything else?
May I ask you one question?
Please.
Do you really like that Taylor Swift song?
I do.
What is it about that song? Because it's objectively, to me, like I don't see an aspect of it. There are songs I don't like.
How many times did you listen to it?
A number of times, Ty. Like I'm not like I'll listen to it on a Tuesday and I'll say, it's just not for me, but I'll try it on Wednesday. I'll try it on Thursday. And it's not sticking. There are certain songs.
I gave it 3 listens, and on the 3rd listen, it stuck. So I'm cool with it now. And I'd prefer to not be demeaned in sharing my opinion.
It's just that you have such a wrong one with this.
I'd prefer if you didn't try to demean, because you have a lot of bad opinions that I just allow to be out there in the podcastosphere.
That's because you know that you are not at a place to accept them as being so correct.
I am standing by my initial statement here.
Does it have a hook that speaks to? I don't get that there are certain songs that I don't like, but I recognize okay, that's a good pop song. It's not for me, but I recognize that. This song, I can't wrap my brain around it.
That's fine. Perhaps I'm an advanced human being.
Perhaps. Or
we can agree that the new song that just came out is better.
I'm going to listen to it right after.
Go and listen to it.
Tweet it
text me. Because, by the way, there was a text message exchange that transpired after it was revealed on Twitter that I actually like, what is it? Look what you made me do.
Yet nobody was really siding with you.
Nobody was.
You're on an island.
I don't care. I don't need people to side with me. But there was a text message that I sent to you saying that this could be the end of the podcast.
Look what you made me do, Ty. You made me ask you a dumb question about Taylor Swift.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody who got in on the fun with us here in week 1. A good week 1. Going to be an even better week 2. Subscribe right now at itunes.com/solidverbal on Apple Podcasts, or you can find us on Google Play, or you can find us on Spotify, or really anywhere where you can subscribe to podcasts. Tell your friends. We're going to be here all season doing 2 shows a week, one on Wednesday, one on Sunday to review all the action. Like you just heard, the Reverb line remains open at 408 Verbal 1. Big thanks to our friend Taylor. Not the Taylor we just described, but Maryland fan Taylor, who compiles all of those messages, got dozens upon dozens of them in week 1. The fun will continue as we forge ahead now into week 2. Daniel. All right, we're going to do this thing. We're back in it now.
I'm ready, Ty. Let's do this.
For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand, thanks for listening to the show. We will catch you all on Wednesday. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.